Hey everybody, this is Ryan McClanahan with historythroughcards.com. Hope you're all doing very well today. So before I begin with my top 10 favorite Hall of the Very Good players, um, I want to give a special shout out to Mike from Junk Wax Hero. And he um, he was at the National and he said that he bumped into one of my favorite sports artists of all time, and that happens to be this gentleman right here, Dick Perez. And I'm very jealous, I have to admit. I've always wanted to meet Dick Perez, and so when he said he had met him and got a couple of autographs, I was like, dude, that's awesome. Second, I was like, dude, I wish that was me. And so what I did was I quickly went on eBay and I wanted to see if Dick Perez actually had any autographs out there. If you can't meet somebody, I think maybe sometimes the best thing you can do is actually go and try to get their autograph online. The experience itself would have been totally worth it, right? But in this case, I was really shocked to see this autographed, and it was like 20 bucks. So I was like, that's mine. Thank you very much. And so, Mike, thank you so much. I really appreciate what you did. You probably didn't know, but anyway, he's got a great channel. Go on over and check it out. I think you're going to really enjoy it. I do, at least. And he is a Yaz collector. I'm not the biggest fan of Yaz in the world, even though I'm from his neck of the woods. There's something about the guy. Anyway, I don't want to get too derailed here. So this is actually going to be my last five favorite players from the Professional Football Researchers Association Hall of the Very Good. And so all the players that I'm talking about today, I actually have cards of. Some I may not actually have with me. I think they're in a box, as the last video I did on this. But the first guy that I wanted to talk about was this gentleman right here, Del Schaffner. And Del Schaffner is really one of my favorites. Of course, I never met him and I never saw him play. I never actually saw any of these guys play, contrary to popular belief. Um, Talk to any of my friends, they think I'm from a different decade or century or whatever. But that's just my friends. And so this is the 1959 Topps Del Schaffner. Again, I love the design of the 1959 Topps set. I really think it's just absolutely fantastic. One of my favorites of all time, in fact, aside from the Bowmans. I have a special affinity for Bowman baseball and football from like 1950 to 1952. Um, and it's kind of funny too, is that you can kind of like see the difference in colors and a little bit of tweaking of the design of the 1952 Bowman baseball. That's neither here nor there, I guess. But I always think it's kind of interesting. I do love the artwork, and me being an artist, a commercial artist, as well as a reporter, um, I really kind of tend to focus in on the artwork. And actually, there is two gentlemen that I'm going to talk about today who have Bowman cards. However, if you guys haven't seen a 59, some of you may not, I'm not sure. It looks like this. Obviously, this is again, a really fantastic card. He actually does have a 1959 Bell brand potato chips, Rams, and that set is usually found pretty bad condition. So you might want to keep that in mind when you try to grab one. At some point, I'm really hoping he gets in the Hall of Fame. However, Del Schaffner, he was born in 1934 and he passed away in 2020. And he was with the LA Rams from 1957 to 1960, and then the New York Giants from 1961 to 1967. He was a five-time first team All Pro 1958, 1959, 61, 62, and 63. And he was a five-time Pro Bowl, and that was in 1958, 1959, 61 to 63. It's basically the same years that he was a first-team All-Pro. And he was also the NFL receiving yards leader in 1958, and he's on the NFL 1960s All-Decade team. When he was in college, he was with the Baylor Bears, and he won the 1957 Sugar Bowl, and he was their MVP that year, which I think is pretty cool. He's also the first receiver when he retired to have four 1,000 yard seasons, and that wasn't broken until 1981. So that was a record until 1981. I really think that his Hall of Fame selection really can't come soon enough. I didn't write down, or I don't remember or recall if he was ever up for a Hall of Fame nomination before. I'm just not sure. Unfortunately, what happened to Dell was that uh, injuries started to pile up, and it kind of like derailed some of his career. But he had some really good numbers, and unfortunately, I think what's kind of happened too with him is that uh, because he retired in 1967, there are a lot of really great players after him that have broken a lot of his records. A lot of the sports writers have decided that those players that have really kind of overshadowed his career, they're more deserving of Hall of Fame consideration than Dell, even though Dell was maybe the first player to do what it is that he did. And if that makes sense to you, he may have been overshadowed by now greater players, because what they're saying is that the players today are far superior, uh, athletically or agility wise, than the players of the past. I'm not entirely sure that's correct. I kind of don't think so. There were some really good players back in the 20s, 30s, 40s, and 50s. The thing that I think we're missing here is that you have to look at the time in which the player played and the person lived. And so back then, you really didn't have the kind of strength or weight training what these guys are putting in their body other than steroids. Okay, I said it, so shoot me, okay? So there really wasn't any kind of exercise regimen for guys who were playing football or even baseball back in the 1920s, 30s, 40s, and 50s. I'm not even sure in the early 60s either. So that's one thing you got to kind of take into consideration too when you're looking at these guys' stats, and the guys today, all they do is play football. They don't have jobs on the side. In fact, football was their side job back in the day. A lot of guys didn't tell about their injuries either. That's the other thing. So I don't know if Del Schaffner actually, if he hid his injuries or not. I just don't know. But I definitely, again, I definitely like this card quite a bit, and it is pretty cheap. So that's Del Schaffner, and I don't have any other cards of him. So the next player that I want to talk about is Pete Retzlaff, and this is his rookie in the 1959 top set. I really enjoy this card. Obviously, I really enjoy the set too. I again love the design, and I'll show you the back of it. It looks like this. So Pete Retzlaff, his nickname was the Baron, and he really kind of reminded me of a certain Muppet. Yeah, okay, so it's childish and goofy, but so am I, right? So anyway, Pete Retzlaff here. He was born in 1931 and he passed away in 2020. He was on the 1953 Lions practice squad, but I don't think they count that for anything. Uh, he's more well known for being on the Philadelphia Eagles, and He was on this team from 1956 to 1966, and then he was the Eagles general manager from 1969 to 1972. And I believe he was also the president of the Players Association, which I can't imagine made him very popular with the players afterwards. So I don't actually think that he was a president of the Football Players Association very long, but I think that actually may have really kind of kept him out of the Hall of Fame. So the one thing about football that I think is very peculiar is that it has a very long memory for certain players, and one of them happens to be Bucko Kilroy, and the other one was Max Speedy. Both of these guys were complete jerks uh, during their time in professional football, and in um, Bucko Kilroy's case, he actually took the NFL to court, I believe, in 1956. I'm going to talk about Bucko Kilroy in another video at some point because he's up for Hall of Fame consideration too. He's never going to get in as a player. He's really, if he does get in, it's going to be as a contributor, and that's because again, a lot of uh, even his own teammates didn't like this guy. Getting back to Mr. Retzlaff here, he was a fullback and a tight end. He played with the Eagles from 1956 to 1966. He actually spent 2 years in the Army. Just going down the list here, it's pretty incredible, to tell you the truth. He was a 1960 NFL champion, and he was a two-time first-team All-Pro in 1958 and 1965, and a two-time second-team All-Pro in 1964 and 1966, a five-time Pro Bowl 1958, 1960, 63 through 1965, and the NFL reception leader in 1958. He was actually the co-leader along with Raymond Berry, who's a really outstanding Hall of Famer, I think. A lot of people don't really like him for certain reasons. I think that have to do with being the coach of the Patriots and some other things too. With a little off topic here, but he I think he lost his job after he called out players for taking steroids in like 1985 or something like that. He's also the recipient of the Burt Bell Award, and I had to look this one up because I wasn't quite sure what it was. But this is one of the fun things about this is I get to learn new things too. So this is an award that's given out by the Maxwell Football Club annually, and it is voted on by the owners and club officials for the best player in the NFL. And the first recipient was Johnny Unitas in 1959. Pete Retzlaff here, he got this in 1965. And again, he retired in 1967, so it's really well into his career. And this really kind of should tell you what kind of player Pete Retzlaff was. If he's receiving this award, years after he's a rookie. He's older now, I guess, in 1965. And so that year in 1965, he had 66 passes and 10 touchdowns. He's also a member of the Philadelphia Eagles Hall of Fame. And from everything I've heard, Retzlaff really loved his time with the Eagles. It was something that he really cherished, and he also led the league in receptions in 1958, and he had 56. He also averaged too throughout his career 16.4 yards per catch, and he only lost four fumbles in his entire career. And in 2005, the Professional Football Researchers Association nominated him for the Hall of the Very Good, and he was from South Dakota State, and again, 2 years in the Army really kind of held him back. Well, he was in the 1960 championship, a 41-yard reception, which resulted in a field goal that gave the Eagles a 10-6 lead late in the first half, and then it was because of that that the Eagles ended up winning. the championship. So he was a pretty big part of that game. I'm not sure if he has actually been up for Hall of Fame consideration in the past, but I think he should be in the Hall of Fame. From everything I've heard from the guy, he may have not been the most well loved as an executive, but as a player, he was one of the best during his time. And again, I really enjoy this. I actually have a 1961 Flair as well, which I really like. And I didn't know about this card until Chris from Stories and Cardboard told me about it. And then I saw it and I was like, dude, I've got to grab that for my collection. And it looks like this. So again, Chris, thank you so much. I've learned a lot from a lot of YouTubers, and it's been really interesting. And a lot of the stuff I really wouldn't have known about if it wasn't for other YouTubers. And so, guys, everybody, I always say thank you very much. I greatly appreciate it, and I do. So I want to get on to the next player, and that happens to be Billy Houghton. Billy Houghton is one of my all-time favorite players not in the Hall of Fame. So Billy Houghton here, he was born in 1930. He's still alive. He's 92, 93 years old. He was an end for the Green Bay Packers from 1952 to 1958, and on the 1959 Cleveland Browns. I don't know anything about the 59 Cleveland Browns, or else I would tell you. However, this is his rookie, and it's in the 1952 Bowman set. It's a small, and let me see if I can try to get you a better look at this stupid thing. Um, Unfortunately, my camera, again, it doesn't like sports cards, but uh, I'll show you the back of it too. It's pretty standard, but um, this card, for someone who's not in the Hall of Fame, this card cost me, I think, 25 bucks, which is pretty expensive. However, Billy Houghton here. Oh, I also forgot to tell you guys, he was on the Dallas Cowboys in 1960 through 1963. And he's a two-time first team All Pro in 1956 and 1957 and a four-time Pro Bowl, 1952, 55 through 1957, and a two-time NFL receiving yards leader in 1952 and 1956, and the 1956 NFL receiving touchdowns leader, and a two-time NFL yards per game leader, 1952 and again 1956, which seems to be a very good year for him. And I do actually have another card from 1956 of Billy Houghton, and it looks like this. I think this is a really great looking card. Again, I didn't really know a whole lot about Billy Houghton until maybe 10 years ago, and then I wasn't really paying too much attention to what cards he had, uh, and so I found this a couple of years ago, and I was like, I'll grab that. Thank you very much. And so these cards are not really that expensive, to tell you the truth. Even the Houghton rookie here, you could probably get for 20, 25, 30 bucks, and it's not bad for a Bowman, which again, I really love the artwork in the Bowman set. And then the 1956 is really becoming one of my favorite mid-century modern cards sets. So, and I'll show you the back of this too. So it looks like this. Better if it's not blurry, but anyway, he is in the Green Bay Packers Hall of Fame, and his rookie record of was 13 touchdown passes. That wasn't broken until 1998. A lot of his records have been since broken. He also caught 503 career passes for a total of 8,459 yards, and he surpassed Don Hudson to become the all-time leader in receptions and yardage. He was also the first receiver with 500 catches in NFL history. And again, he has never been up for Hall of Fame consideration, which I think is a crime against somebody. Well, it's at least definitely a crime against Billy Houghton here. But it's also a crime against history and for the people who really want him in, guys like myself. I really think that he's been overlooked, and I don't know why. Again, it's really kind of strange because he had an amazing career. There's a lot of players, in fact, who have had some really great careers. They just haven't been looked at properly by the Hall of Fame in Canton, and you have to kind of wonder why. Is it because, again, like I said before, you have a lot of new modern players who may have spent like 10 or 5 years on the field, and it's because they're in more of a, a modern setting, if you will. They're in the public eye more often. Obviously, if you've passed on, you're not going to be in the public eye. If your playing career ends, soon after, you're not going to be in the public eye. So, after your playing career, you're kind of forgotten, right? Which is, it's a bummer. It sucks, to tell you the truth. I always like to talk about these players to make sure that they're not forgotten. And so, this is one of the reasons why I think Billy Houghton is really important. I really would like to see him in the Hall of Fame while he's still alive. I think that's really very important for the Hall of Fame to have living members of the Hall of Fame. So it's also important for fans as well. But again, this is a really great card. It's one of my favorites, and I also like the Billy Houghton rookie, and he's got some other really nice cards too. I have a 58 tops card of his, which is is really kind of interesting, that 58 tops football set. It's not my favorite set in the world, but I guess it gets the job done. If you're looking to add some vintage to your collection, the 58 is not that bad. 59 is better, but I'm biased. So the next player that I want to talk about is Harlan Hill, and this is a 1956 tops. It's his rookie. And again, he's got some really great cards out there too. Harlan Hill, he's got a very interesting career, very interesting life. I think so. He was not only a football player but an educator as well. Spent a lot of time as a teacher, and he was born in 1932 and he passed away in 2013. He was an end for the Bears from 1954 to 1961 and the Steelers in 1962 and the Lions in 1962. This card is actually, it's a, I guess they screwed up on his name, Harlan. So it's Harlon, Hill, and show you the back. Again, looks like this. But it's a really neat card. I really like the set here. The design is really great. So Harlan Hill was at the University of Alabama, and in his senior year, he was an All-American. They say it's the University of Alabama. That could be true today, but when he was playing there, it was Florence State Teachers College. I thought it was kind of strange being from a teachers college, having a football team and being that good on a football team from a teachers college that a NFL scout would stop by to see this guy play. So he must have been really a really great college football player. He was the NFL MVP in 1955, which again is the Player of the Year, and in 1954 Rookie of the Year, two-time first team All-Pro in 1955 and 1956, and in 1956 second team All-Pro. He's also a three-time Pro Bowler from 1954 to 1956, and a two-time NFL receiving touchdowns leader, 1954 and 1955, and the 100 greatest Bears of all time. And as a rookie, he set a record for the most receiving yards and the most touchdown receptions. And I didn't write down how many receptions he got. Oh, he averaged 25 yards per catch. And that record wasn't broken until 2020 with Darnell Mooney, who I've never seen and I wouldn't know from a lineup. So you guys probably would, but not me. So anyway, he's also the Jim Thorpe Trophy recipient. He's the first recipient of that award, and that is as an MVP. It's the same thing as the NFL MVP. They just call it the Jim Thorpe Trophy. Okay, moving on. And unfortunately for him, he was often injured later in his career, but he still holds several Bears records, 15 of them, in fact. And so I really like the fact that he has a very deserving career. These cards are really pretty affordable for the average collector. And he was voted by the Professional Football Researchers Association Hall of the Very Good in 2014. After he retired, he went back to Florence State as an assistant football coach, and he received a master's degree in education, which was really kind of unheard of, I think, for athletes back in his day. Um, and he became a school teacher, a public school teacher, and a principal of Brooks High School in Alabama. He also overcame a almost debilitating bout of alcoholism too, and so I think that he's a very well-deserving candidate, and I would love to see him get in the Hall of Fame. Some of these guys are really kind of often overlooked, and I think for him, in his case, his injuries may have played a role. So I'm gonna save the best for last, I think, and that is Ken Kavanaugh. This is his rookie. It's in the 1950 Bowman football set, and I don't know if he actually has any other cards. I haven't seen any. Maybe an exhibit card, but again, this is going to be your best bet. It's not that expensive. It's very affordable, I think, for the average collector. Anyway, Ken Kavanaugh was born in 1916 and he passed away in 2007. He was an end for the Chicago Bears from 1940 to 41, and then again from 1945 to 1950, which is why we have this right here. And he came out of Louisiana State and he was an All American in 1939, and he's in the College Football Hall of Fame. He uh, gained entry into that Hall of Fame in 1963, and he came in seventh in Heisman voting, but he lost. So he did win the Newt Rockne Award, and I had to look this one up because I wasn't sure exactly what it was. I'm not really up on my football awards, as you guys can obviously tell, but the Newt Rockne Award was for the nation's best lineman of the year, and he was the MVP of the Southern Conference as well. So I think it's really pretty impressive so far. He signed with the St. Louis Cardinals, the baseball team, for $300 per month. I think it would have been really difficult for him to actually have tried to make it as a ball player, even especially on the Cardinals of the late 1930s. And the Cardinals had their own set of special problems going on back then, uh, especially with kind of like concealing their players or not having their ball players come up through the league or the team. So that was I already wrote an article on this. However, don't get me started on the Cardinals from the 1930s, please. It's been a good day so far. Anyway, he did sign with the Bears instead, and he was a teammate of both college and professional football of another player named Young Bussey, who was killed in action during World War II. And I think Young Bussey is the only NFL player to have been killed in action. That's what they say. I think there are actually a few other NFL players who may have been killed. I think there's actually maybe one or two of them who have received the Medal of Honor. Anyway, young Bussy ended up going into the Navy. Mr. Kavanaugh here ended up being a captain during World War II. He was a pilot in the 8th Air Force in the European theater. My grandfather was actually a bombardier in the European theater on a B-24. It's a massive plane. I wouldn't want to be on one, to tell you the truth. Anybody who was on board one of those guys, thank you so much because honestly, like those things are like flying coffins. There's really nowhere to go. So, obviously, like I love my veterans. I love my World War II vets. And so he was with the 490th and the 851st, and he flew 30 missions over Europe, and he received the Distinguished Flying Cross, the Air Medal with 4 oak leaf clusters, and that denotes distinguished action. He came back and he won the 1946 championship. And prior to this, though, he won 2 other championships with Sid Luckman, and that was 1940 and 1941. And sometimes I think I kind of forget that the Bears were just absolute monsters back in the 1940s with Sid Luckman. They uh, they won a ton of championships back then. I think they won the 1943 championship as well. However, he was not part of this because he was overseas. But he's also a 3 first team All Pro in 1946 and 1948. So he was also a 2-time receiving touchdowns leader in 1947 and 1949, and he's on the NFL 1940s All-Decade team, and he's also uh, a part of the 100 greatest Bears of all time. The other thing too about him is that he was after his retirement, he was an ends coach in 1951, and uh, he then again went to Boston College, and he was in the same position as an ends coach for them in 1952 and 1953. And then he was with Villanova in 1954. And then he came back to the NFL as an ends coach for the New York Giants from 1955 to 1970. And he was a couch yeah, he was a couch. He was a scout for the Giants from 1971 to 1999 when he retired. And the Professional Football Researchers Association, Hall of the Very Good, announced his, I guess, participation, if you will, uh, in 2009. So I think he really does have a great career, and he probably should have been in a long time ago, but there are a few other guys on the Bears and on, I guess, the Giants that have not gone on to the Hall of Fame and should. So I'm going to give you another player, in fact, that I really think that should be in the Hall of Fame and isn't. And this is Fred Fuzzy Thurston. This is the 1963 Tops. I really enjoy this set over the last couple of months. In fact, I didn't like it before, but my tastes have apparently changed. I still don't like tomatoes, so I'm never gonna eat a tomato. But I have thought long and hard about the 1963 top set, and it is one that I really do now appreciate. Again, I hated this set when I was a kid. I never collected vintage football past 1953, and even in 1953 Bowman set, I only have like a few of those cards because I don't like that giant football. I think it's very distracting, at least for a guy like me. But Fred Thurston here, Fuzzy Thurston, he was born in 1933 and he passed away in 2014. Passed away from the effects of Alzheimer's, or they think now is CTE, which is unfortunately it's getting a lot more ball players, not just in football, but in even soccer and hockey. Horrible, horrible thing. Anyway, getting back to Mr. Thurston here, he was with the Colts in 1958 during the championship team. As they say, the 1958 championship was uh, the greatest game ever played in football, and I have seen it. Again, I wasn't around in 1958, but we have something called YouTube, and you can look at all the championship games, and I highly recommend that you do so because it takes like maybe like half an hour or so to like 45 minutes to an hour, and you're good as gold. And so, anyway, he was on the Packers in 1959 through 1967, and he was an offensive guard. And he's a two-time Super Bowl champion, the Super Bowl one and two, and it was all with the Green Bay Packers here. And he was a six-time NFL champion, 1958, 1961, 62, 65, 66, and 67. That's damn impressive. Truly, truly. He's also the 1961 All Pro first team and a four-time second team All Pro, 1961, 63, 64, and 66. He's also on the Packers Hall of Fame. He was on the, I think, the basketball team of, and I'm going to screw this one up. I'm going to try it anyway. Valrespo University. He was on a scholarship for the basketball team, and uh, he actually won a conference title, which I think is really interesting because he's a very, very large dude. And I'm not sure entirely what it says. His height is 6'1", weight 240. So what do you think? His actual weight was 300 plus. As you can tell here, he is a big dude. But I'll show you the back of this card because I think it's pretty cool too. It's one of my favorite features of the 1963 top set. The one thing I don't really understand all that well is at the bottom here. It says place red paper on card and see answer. I'm not entirely sure like where you place the red paper. Is it like a 3D effect? I'm not sure. Maybe some of you guys in the comments section below can tell me because I'm not entirely sure exactly what I would supposed to be doing. But again, it's really pretty cool. And again, um, the design I think is really great for this set, and it fits the early 1960s like a glove. So anyway, he's one of only four players in the NFL history to play on six NFL championship teams, and he's a very popular player too. Everybody liked him. Probably not opposing players, but a lot of people did like him. And so what they're saying is that Fuzzy Thurston might have actually been a better player than his teammate Jerry Kramer. The problem, I think, is that I counted how many Hall of Famers were on the 1963 Packers squad. So I counted like 10 Hall of Famers on the 1963 Packers squad, and I have a number of these cards, so I'm going to show them to you right now. The first one is this gentleman right here, Bart Starr. I only have one Bart Starr in my collection, and this is it. Again, I really like this set, so you're going to see a number of these. So Bart Starr is obviously a Hall of Famer, and then Jerry Kramer And this is his rookie from 1959. Again, I'll show you the back of it. It looks like this. He's actually a kind of a more expensive rookie in this set. It kind of surprised me, to tell you the truth. I had a very difficult time trying to track down a centered copy as well. So you might want to keep that in mind. This copy is not centered all that great, but it was like really the right price at the right time. And I don't care to try to upgrade this particular card. I do like it, and I like the jersey and the design, and it again, really fantastic card. And then you have Henry Jordan. Um, this is a really great card. He's someone I think isn't talked about at all. I have heard the name, but he passed away really young. So again, he may have been about 40, 45 years old or so, just incredibly young when he passed. So he's not really talked about, but he is in the Hall of Fame, and he played with the Packers for I think almost all of his career. But again, uh, it is a great card. And you have Willie Wood. This is his rookie, and this card was quite difficult for me to get a hold of a centered copy. There's actually a lot that's going on with this particular set, which I don't really like. Again, I like the design, but centering is a real problem with this set, and the corners as well are going to be a major headache. And so, again, take your time if you're trying to go for these cards. Just understand that centering is going to be an issue. The corners are definitely going to be an issue. You're going to have snow and print spots and streaks with this set as well. So it's a nightmare to try to find decent centered copies or just clean copies. I had to have this card. I think this is a fantastic card. So it cost me a little bit of money, but you can pick it up for about 20 bucks or so. Not terribly bad. And then Jim Taylor as well. And I think Jim Taylor's rookie is in the 1959 top set, but I don't like his rookie because it's not him. And in 1960 as well, they screwed up. Tops did. They screwed up the player. It is Jim Taylor in both, but it's the wrong Jim Taylor. That Jim Taylor is actually on the Cardinals, so this is the correct Jim Taylor. And I wasn't really aware of how good this guy really was. Just absolutely phenomenal. What a great ball player. This is a 1964 Philadelphia, and I'll be talking about Philadelphia in another video, but I'll show you. This is their inaugural set, and I'll talk more about these sets. But I wanted to show you what one looked like, and this is really a great card and a great Hall of Famer. And then you have Forrest Gregg. His rookie is in the 1960 top set, and his name is misspelt. It's an uncorrected error. I'm pretty sure it's uncorrected. I don't really like his rookie, and I wanted a card of Forrest Gregg, so I chose this in my favorite 1960s set. So at least for tops anyway. So uh, again, Forrest Gregg, really great player, Hall of Fame. All these guys are Hall of Famers. And then you have Herb Adderley, and this is in 1967 Philadelphia, and the I wasn't really familiar with the set exactly. I mean, I saw it, but I never collected them, particularly because I didn't really like the borders. They're like yellow or golden, and I thought they were pretty ugly. And I do like this. I like Herb Adderley as a player. I think he's not underrated, that's for sure. But his cards are really cheap. The 1964 Philadelphia Herb Adderley, a lot of people consider that his rookie card, but it isn't. His rookie card is a 1961 Lake to Lake. That is an extremely difficult card. It's very expensive. I think I've seen maybe one copy in my entire uh, collecting career, if you will. It's just extremely difficult. So a lot of collectors will consider his 1964 Philadelphia his rookie, but it isn't. I do like that card quite a bit, and I'll probably add it to my collection at some point. I wanted to add a nice Herb Adderley card, and I thought this was a good option, and it's pretty cheap for the kind of career that Herb Adderley actually had. His cards are really very undervalued, I think. So you can pick up a card of his for like $10. The 64 is like under 10. So um, you guys might like you guys might like that. And so another one is Jim Ringo, and I didn't like any other Jim Ringo cards, and I do like this quite a bit though. So again, Hall of Fame, 63. This is a really great card. It's well centered. There's just a little bit of wear on the bottom, but for my purposes, that's fine. And you've got Willie Davis in the 65 Philadelphia. Um, I like the 65 Philadelphia, but there, I guess, in my opinion, not enough Hall of Famers in the set. A little disappointing, but there are some Hall of Fame rookies in this set. So the other thing that a lot of people like about the 67 and the 65 is the logo right here. Show you if you can see that NFL logo. That's actually really popular with a lot of collectors. You have another Herb Adderley, and this is 66. And I'm not sure which one I like the most. I really like the 66 set. And then other players that I actually don't have cards of are Ray Nitschke, and his rookie is actually found in this particular set, the 63. It's a little on the expensive side, but again, I wasn't aware of how good Ray Nitschke actually was. And some people actually say that Dave Robinson is also a member of the 1963 Green Bay Packers squad. I didn't see his name, so I'm not entirely sure if he is. But Dave Robinson is his rookie is in the 1967, and I have it. I just can't find it. My God, it just disappeared on me. But I do have it. It's kind of an expensive card. And what I mean by expensive is it's going to cost you like $20 to $30 or more. For me, that's kind of expensive when you're talking about like 1960s football. I think for the majority of 1960s football, they are pretty cheap. You can find some great deals for some amazing Hall of Famers. And if I was a new collector of vintage or wanting to get into vintage, I would go for the 1960s football first and then kind of branch out from there and just kind of study the ball players. So in 1963, the Packers they went 11-2-1, and they were second in their division. And I was like, wait, what? I mean, first off, you got 10 Hall of Famers. How can you be second in the division? So I was like, that's goofy. And then I read, and it was the Bears versus the Giants, and the Bears won the championship that year. So I was like, oh my God. But what I'm trying to get at here is that the Hall of Fame, when you look at the teams that have the most players in the Hall of Fame, the Packers are in first place. They have 28 players in the Hall of Fame, and then you have the Steelers, who have 26 players, the Redskins have 22, the Giants have 21. Four Green Bay Packers are charter members of the Football Hall of Fame. And Vince Lombardi, as a coach from 1959 to 1967, his overall record was 105, 35, and 6. And he's got a 750 winning percentage. That's probably one of the reasons why Fuzzy Thurston here is not in the Hall of Fame, is because there's so many Green Bay Packers from the Vince Lombardi era already in the Hall of Fame that either one of two things could have happened. He was deliberately bypassed because there's so many Green Bay Packers already in the Hall of Fame, or that because these teams were so stacked with future Hall of Famers that he was kind of like overlooked, kind of like Al Wistert, right? So I think Al Wistert is kind of like in the same boat here. They both are, in fact. But I have some honorable mentions here too that I want to get to. These guys do have cards, all of them. I have cards for I think most of them, in fact, except for one. So my honorable mentions for Hall of Fame, and I'm probably going to talk more about these guys in future videos. But Tony Latone, he played with the Pottsville Maroons, and he was on that 1925 squad that won the championship and then got it stripped. And so he does actually have a card. The Pottsville Maroons came out with a set in 1925 or 1926. You'll see it about the same time you'll see Halley's Comet. So it is a card that I know exists. I've never seen it in person. I've only seen it online. He was also with the Canton Bulldogs, and he played from 1925 to 1930. And then the other guys, Gene Lipscomb and let's see, he really deserves to be in the Hall of Fame. Unfortunately, he passed away from a drug overdose, and some have said that it was unintentional, that somebody had given him drugs or something like that, and it's just kind of a weird story. Some suspense, I guess, surrounding that, and I'll talk more about Gene Lipscomb in another video. And then you have Haynes, yeah, Abner Haynes, um, and his rookie cards are really nice. I enjoy both of them. A 1961 Fleer, and then a 1961 Tops. It's the same image, but it's the background is different. I think I like the Flair better. And then you have Marshall Goldberg and Charlie Connolly. And I did videos on both of these guys, stating my case for why they should be in the Hall of Fame. And you guys can check out those videos. Gail Gillingham, who I'm really shocked is not in the Hall of Fame with his statistics. He's really clearly, for me, a Hall of Famer through and through, but somebody doesn't think so. I guess he's never been up for a Hall of Fame consideration that I'm aware of. And then you have Dwayne Putnam as well, and I'll talk more about Dwayne Putnam. And then you have Kyle and Tobin Rote, and they're cousins, and I guess their cards are found in the 1950s Bowman sets. They got some really nice cards. They have a decent career that I think should be looked at further. Kyle may be the better of the two, but they both should be in the Hall of Fame. So, guys, thank you so much for stopping by. I greatly appreciate it as always. Let me know what you think about these picks, and I'd love to hear what you have to say about them. If you have any favorite cards that you want to let me know about that these guys have, I'm all ears. I always like to hear what you guys have to say. So again, guys, thank you so much for stopping by. I greatly appreciate it. Give me a like and subscribe as well. The more, I guess, the more videos I produce, or the more you guys tell other people, the more I guess I get to expand my channel here. So it's all thumbs up from here. So again, Guys, I hope you have a good day, and I will talk to you later.